Hello world, welcome to Champions Online Archetype Update for the Unleashed and the Blade. The first bit of sad news is that the diminishing returns on archetypes was fixed, which is essentially a big old damage nerf. It feels like both archetypes, the Blade and the Unleashed, are quite similar now, the Blade basically being the single blade and the Unleashed being the dual blades. And in general, the force powers don't fit very well with the Unleashed, especially with the updates that we've been getting that kind of emphasize having a basic power to apply a debuff and then using your main power. I mean, force powers haven't been updated yet, and I suspect once they have been, the Unleashed is going to lose its little Jedi ripoff identity a whole lot more. Both the Unleashed and the Blade use the exact same stats. They both have dexterity as the primary super stat. I mean, one of them could have been changed up a little bit, but they weren't, so it's kind of sad. The Unleashed is definitely a little bit better to level with now. I believe Bountiful Chi Resurgence is now at level 17 instead of whatever it was before, 25 I think. So that's nicer. And then the Blade does have the heal, except it's really high in the levels, which kind of blows. So there's kind of a mixed bag with the update. The Unleashed. It's not much different to play as. If you already have an Unleashed, you're probably going to use the same powers. And Force kind of just blows in this build now. I mean, Force was cherry-picked for the good powers anyway, and now it's just getting worse since it hasn't been updated yet. And the Blade set has. It's a little bit, I think it might be a little bit better to level, but there are still some stupid choices, and pretty much all of those choices have to do with the fact that Force powers are in the set at all. The biggest improvement is having a lunge instead of Force Snap. Force Snap is a knock 2, which in theory sounds, it should be equal to a lunge, except that because it's a ranged power, it scales with ego, so the knock is going to scale with ego, which this build doesn't have any of, so basically it was always a crappy choice. And now that we have Strike Down, there's absolutely no reason to ever even waste your time with Force Snap because it's just subpar with this build since it does not get any knock from Strength. And Form of the Tempest is now at level 6. Oh my god, they put a form at a lower level. They broke their stupid ass template where they always have the energy management much higher level, which makes the early leveling experience completely shit because of energy issues for like so many archetypes. I think it would have been better to have Steadfast in the level 6 slot, and yes, Steadfast, even though this build gets relentless, Steadfast would have been the better choice. But Steadfast, it works with crits. I mean, Dexterity is the primary super stat, so crits won't be a problem even while leveling, and you don't get the 10% energy penalty, which at lower levels can still be an issue. Sure, maybe at level, higher levels it's not a big deal, but I think at the early levels is where the energy issues are, and having Relentless down there at level 6 would have been kind of nice. Force Eruption versus Eye of the Storm. Force Eruption has the same problem. It's ranged. I believe it scales with ego for the knock part, so it's not going to be terribly useful on a build that has, no ego. And to me, Eye of the Storm is just the better choice because of the mechanics of how ranged knocks work. I mean, if the Force Eruption could scale with Strength, it would be a nice option. You can knock things away. But then again, you still have the thing of knocking things away, which kind of pisses people off because if you're in a group, you're just knocking shit all over the place. So there's always that problem. And to me, Eye of the Storm is just a superior choice. And Eye of the Storm was buffed again. They have a little bit. I think there's a new advantage so that you can apply Shredded with it. It has a 10% chance to apply Shredded. And if you fully maintain it, then it's guaranteed to be Shredded. So, applying Shredded is not going to be hard. I mean, you get it with Blade Tempest. I believe Blade Tempest has the innate ability to do Shredded now. Just finish the combo, and then you just have it magically. Here's a stupid choice. Bountiful Chi Resurgence versus Mind Wipe. Mind Wipe is a situational power that only works if something has aggro against you. In Champions Online, a lot of encounters and group encounters, you still have splash damage from enemies, so even if you're not getting aggro, you will need a maintenance heal, because you can't always depend on having a healer around, so there is literally no reason to ever have Mind Wipe over an actual heal, because the heal is always useful. You can keep up Bountiful Chi Resurgence all the time. It's just freaking amazing to have any kind of maintenance heal, and it's not a bad heal. It's like click and forget, and if your cooldown reduction is low enough, you could actually probably stack it a little bit at the end. You could at least keep it up all the time. I mean, it will always be up. Mind Wipe is situational. It shouldn't even be paired with a heal. If Mind Wipe is going to be paired with another power, it should not ever be paired with a heal. And it's just a stupid choice because you're always going to want the heal over a very situational power because the heal is always going to be useful in any situation. Dragon's Wrath, well, it's not a level 35 anymore, so that's nice, I guess. But it is basically the Alpha Strike, but at least it gives you a little bit of change so you're not using Blade Tempest all the time for your damage. So I suppose that's fine. Steadfast would have been better than Relentless as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you don't even get it until level 30 anyway. It's the energy unlock. They made this new energy unlock. It's kind of whatever. I don't know. I'm not, like, convinced that it needs to exist at all still. Relentless honestly just feels inferior to Steadfast because the proccing conditions are dumb. I mean, you don't just get a crit. You have to get a crit on a wounded target. And wounded is like a new effect. That means the target has to be bleeding or has open wounds effects or something. It's stupid. It's just a stupid proc condition. It's like, why? I don't know why they couldn't have just left it simple. What? I don't know. It's just dumb. And Steadfast just would have been better for the Unleashed, I feel. Intensity versus Field Surge. I think this is the same as it always was. And Intensity isn't exactly amazing. I mean, let's face it, Intensity isn't Ego Surge with Nimble Mind, which means it's always going to be the lesser choice. And Field Surge, well, Force Powers haven't been updated. Field Surge kind of sucks. So, but it's like a nice defensive option. It's not like completely useless. It's just the problem with Field Surge is that it's not Masterful Dodge and it's not Unbreakable and it's not even Resurgence. And those are all kind of like the crowning glory of active defenses. So I would personally go with Field Surge because having that little bit of extra defense in what is an offense-based build is nice to have. I mean, just having the heal isn't always enough, so it's just a nice bonus. I mean, you have plenty of ways to do damage. Intensity, I think Intensity gives you just a bunch of stats, which stats are affected by diminishing returns, so as your build gets more powerful, it becomes less useful, so I don't know. I would just go with Field Surge, which is what I would go with before. And then at level 40, you get the choice between Containment Field and Force Geyser. I mean, Force Geyser is usually the one set that's cherry-picked. You can put Nail to the Ground on it, so if there's a flying enemy, you'll actually be able to hit it, since the Unleashed really has absolutely no way to deal with flying enemies. And don't say Force Snap, because Force Snap would not have pulled those enemies close enough to you anyway, because the knock is just not that good on it when you don't have Ego. I mean, Containment Field, I guess it's a containment field. You just trap them in a bunch of energy. It was buggy at one time, but I would just pick Force Geyser. It's just more useful. And then you also have the Hard Landing, which to me I think is more something that would be more useful in PvP. I mean, Champions Online AI is kind of rubbish, so, I mean, chances are if you knock them to the ground, they're not going to move anyway. But I mean, they could. I don't know, the AI is just dumb. So, I mean, so it's a nice, I would say Force Geyser is still better utility power than Field Containment. The Force set hasn't been updated yet, so maybe that'll change later on. The Blade. If you already have one at level 40, that your playstyle isn't really going to change very much. The most noticeable improvement is that there is a heal in this now. Reaper's Crest can fulfill the function of both single target and AoE because it's now an AoE, but it does some decent damage because it's a combo and whatever. And you get the choice between Thunderbolt Lunge and Cut Down. I mean, they're both lunges, so it kind of doesn't matter which one you take. Just take the one you think looks nicer. I mean, I think they have different advantages maybe, but I would take Cut Down because I think it looks nicer. Thunderbolt Lunge looks goofy to me, so I would take it because of that. Scything Blade got some buffs or changes or whatever. It does have an advantage to knockdown, which I would take that and use it as utility power. I mean, I don't think I would use Scything Blade as a main AoE attack because Reaper's Crest exists, and Reaper's Crest has much, much better chances to have applying bleed than Scything Blade does, and it stacks, and I just would not use Scything Blade for anything other than the knockdown advantage, which means it'd be a situational power for me. And Swallowtail Cut still is not impressive to me, because the targets I would most want to use it on are immune to the effects anyway. NX Tides was removed completely from the blade, so you don't even have that option anymore. It would have been nice to have that choice between Scything Blade and the kicking, And then they could have, taken the opportunity to actually buff the 360 looking kick move to actually be a 360 move instead of a cone. But they didn't. They just removed it from the build. I don't know why. It makes me sad. So, well, there you go. At level 17, you have a choice between Reaper's Embrace and Dragon's Bite. My first problem with this is why the hell isn't the heal here? Because in the Unleashed, Bountiful Chi Resurgence is at level 17. And if you're leveling as the Blade, it would make leveling a lot nicer because you would have that heal earlier on. I don't even know. But anyway, Dragon's Bite versus Reaper's Embrace. Before you got them both, now you get to choose between them. I would still go with Reaper's Embrace. I never really used Dragon's Bite before. It was mostly there for the rush move. But since this build has Relentless, which is the new energy unlock, there's just kind of no point. You don't need the rush move, at all. I mean, it's just kind of useless now for that. Sure, you could take it for damage if you really like it, but Reaper's Embrace, to me, has better synergy with this build. You use Reaper's Crest to apply your debuffs and all your bleed stacks, and then you just, rupture those things for, big, giant damage numbers. And it's just a nice spike damage build. So that's how I would do the Blade. So, for me, that doesn't change. I mean, I guess you can use Dragon's Bite, but why? Relentless does work decently with this build since it's super easy to get bleed stacks everywhere, all over the place. I mean, Reaper's Crash, when you're under the effects of a focus, which you will because you have Form of the Swordsman, has a better chance of applying bleed. So, it just bleeds for days. So, I mean, Relentless works just fine for this. You're going to crit and bleed all the time. And then level 30 choice. Okay, I'm going to say this again. Why the hell is the heal at level freaking 30? I mean, sure, if you're already at level 40 with the Blade, it doesn't matter to you, but if you're leveling with it, that's just stupid. You could have had the Reaper's Embrace, Dragon's Bite choice here at level 30, which is kind of the start of when leveling starts to feel painful between level 30 and 40, but you just get your main Alpha Strike at level 30, so it was kind of a nice thing, and then you would be able to heal from level 17 on. But no. And they did the other dumb thing is they put the choice between your heal and a freaking threat wipe. And this is the same problem as with the Unleashed. Why the hell would you ever choose a situational threat wipe over being able to heal all the time? You can keep PCR up all the time. And I didn't mention this before, but the advantage works really nice because Way of the Warrior does have some innate dodge, which isn't awful. But you also get Masterful Dodge, which makes the advantage amazing because you get extra healing ticks all over the place. I think there's an innate cooldown for half a second or something like that. But still, it's a great advantage, and it works really well with the Blade when you take Masterful Dodge. And there's no reason not to take Masterful Dodge, because the other choice between Masterful Dodge is Intensity. Intensity is just not that good. It really isn't. I mean, it doesn't even compare to how amazing Masterful Dodge is. You're talking about a substandard, kind of iffy active offense versus an amazing gold standard active defense. It's there's just no comparison. And Smoke Bomb is just a stupid power choice to have with Bountiful Chi Resurgence. Don't even ever waste your time. If you have the choice between a threat wipe and a heal, you will always pick the heal because it's always the better option. There's just having the threat wipe is just a stupid choice. Especially now since the Blade basically had a damage nerf. You should not be drawing aggro unless there is either A, there is no tank, or B, your tank blows really badly. And I already talked about the level 35 choice between Masterful Dodge and Intensity. Pick Masterful Dodge. There's no reason to ever pick Intensity. That didn't change. And then your level 40 choices between Shuriken Throw and Chain Kunai. Okay, here's something that's stupid. They added... Okay, so Shuriken Throw has an advantage called Chain Kunai, which basically turns it into Chain Kunai, but without the best part of the Chain Kunai power, which is Inner Peace, which is a little maintenance heal. So, I mean... If you wanted the advantage, you might as well just get the stupid power because Chain Kunai is kind of stupid to put onto Shuriken Throw since the actual power exists now. What I would do anyway, which didn't change, is I would just go and use Shuriken Throw for a ranged damage power because it's 100 feet, which is pretty nice. And it does have a chance to knock down. I think there's an internal cooldown of a couple seconds, 5 or something stupid. And they have all these dumb advantages. I mean, the only advantage I would probably even consider is Strong Arm, to just make it do even more damage, so I would just go rank 3 and Strong Arm. That's what I would do. You can take Chain Kunai. Inner Peace is not even remotely close to being a substitute for Bountiful Chi Resurgence. The heal is nowhere near as good. At best, Inner Peace is a nice maintenance heal, but it is absolutely not a substitute for the actual real heal, Bionic Chi Resurgence, or not Bionic. bountiful chi resurgence. Like, don't even think that you can take the threat wipe, smoke bomb, and then make up for it with inner peace, because it's not going to work. Inner peace is just nowhere near that good, especially with a no pre character build. I mean, this is an offense role character. You're not going to get very good healing from that. At least I'm pretty sure inner peace scales with, healing bonuses like everything else does. It's just not that good. It's nice when you stack it up with other heal over times for that maintenance healing, especially if you have an actual healer build. But for something like the Blade, it is not a substitute for an actual heal. Not even close. Which is why I would not go with Chain Kuna. I would go with Shuriken Throw, since it's like, it even has better range. It has faster attack speed. It's like, Chain Kuna is, a charge thing. I have the chance to apply bleeds, but I mean, really, do you need the extra chance to apply bleeds? You are using Reaper's Crest, which has a really good chance to apply bleeds, and if you're absolutely desperate, you can use Scything Blade to apply a single stack of bleeds if there isn't a bleed on him. So, it's just, I would just go with Shuriken Throw. It's better in every way, as far as I'm concerned, especially with this build. So that didn't change. Basically, both builds play the same as they did before. There really wasn't any drastic changes in that respect, which is good. And the most noticeable improvements were to the Blade, since it can actually heal now. They still have, both of them suffer from the same dumb choice between a heal and a threat wipe, and there's no reason to ever take a threat wipe over a heal. It's just really dumb. I mean, it's just a dumb decision to make someone have that choice, because it's a non-choice. And to me, the Unleashed loses a little bit more of its Jedi identity and makes it more of just a general martial arts dual blade build. And part of that is because of the underlying mechanics of how ranged versus melee synergize with each other, which they really don't. And because of the updates that kind of heavily encourage you to stay within one set. Cross sets don't blend very well together anymore, and I think it's only going to get worse when the Force set does get updated. It's going to be even worse for the Unleashed, because the Force powers are probably going to feel a little bit more gimpy in this build and more out of place. So basically you have a dual blade swordsman and a single blade swordsman, and that's kind of how they both work, and they're essentially quite similar, except that the Unleashed gets a little bit of an advantage in being a bit beefier because of the Wardicator choice instead of Brawler or Warden.